Troy, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. It's really terrific to see such a distinguished and varied audience here for what I think is going to be a terrific day. So welcome to all of you to the second U.S. Korea Joint Public-Private Economic Forum. I don't think the title does justice to some of the things we're going to talk about today, but you can judge for yourself at the end of the day. I do want to thank the Republic of Korea's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the U.S. Department of State who've joined with us in co-sponsoring and organizing this event. And I hope there will be some in the future as well, because I think this is at the heart of how we shape not just the future of U.S.-Korea relations, but how we address the issues, and the ones on the agenda today that are going to shape the world that we pass on to our children and grandchildren. 2018 has been, shall we say, an eventful, and I'd say even historic year on the Korean Peninsula and in U.S.-Korean relations. There are a number of reasons for that. Some we're not going to touch so directly today. The welcome developments towards a process of peace and denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula. The Vice Minister who's going to speak to us shortly was very involved in working to update our trading relationship, and that work goes on, and I think we will touch on that. But we're also looking today to even take a broader focus and to think about how we can work closely together to shape our shared economic futures and challenges. Things like the changing shape of the Asia-Pacific, or as we now call it sometimes the Indo-Pacific, or in the Republic of Korea's words, the Southern strategy, the Southern approach, and of course the technological revolution that's been underway for some time, which continues to transform our societies and in many ways our politics as well. So with that, my job this morning to get us off to a start is to introduce our two very distinguished speakers who will be giving opening remarks to get us started. Their bios, their descriptions, their resumes are in your folders, and I don't believe in reading those to you. I think you can read better than I can read them to you. But I do want to say a word about two men whom I much admire for their public service and for their commitment to strong U.S.-Korea relations. First, we're going to hear from the second Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Korea, the Honorable Taeho Lee. Vice Minister Lee, I know from my own experience in U.S.-Korea affairs, is one of Korea's most accomplished diplomats and the architect of key elements of South Korea's economic and trade policy over the years, and how impressive that has been. He studied economics at Seoul National University and obtained his master's degree in the Foreign Service from Georgetown University, telling me just now that he studied under such professors as Madeleine Albright and Donald Gregg, later to be ambassador to the Republic of Korea. He's had overseas assignments in Europe, South Asia, and the U.S., really reflecting, I think, the Republic of Korea's global reach. And in Seoul, he has held numerous key trade positions and economic positions, both in the aftermath of the Asian financial crisis of 1998, for those of you who remember that. He directed the WTO division, and during my tenure as ambassador in Seoul, he was the Director General for Free Trade Agreements for the Republic of Korea. He's held the Deputy Minister and Special Advisor positions at MOFA related to economics and trade, and of course he is now the second Vice Minister. So we're going to ask him to speak to us first, and then, so I don't have to jump up here like a jack-in-the-box, I want to also welcome very much the Honorable Don Beyer, Congressman from the 8th District of Virginia. I was telling him, I used to be his constituent before he was a congressman, but I first met him as when we were both ambassadors to beautiful mountainous countries. His was in Europe, it was Switzerland, I was in Korea, and I have admired his career in diplomacy, as well as his distinguished career in business, in civic life in Northern Virginia, the beating heart of so much innovation, I think, in this country, and his public service, which continues. I think his committee assignments, in addition to his own background, make him the perfect person to join us for this theme today, although he tells me the committee assignments may be changing. But I think it shows the kind of depth and seriousness of his interests. The Joint Economic Committee in the House, the Science, Space, and Technology Committee, Natural Resources. I believe you're also in the Climate Caucus. So we really welcome your commitment to these issues that we are going to focus on today and your commitment to the U.S. Korea relationship. So with that, again, welcome everyone. You'll hear a little bit more from me later in the day, but mostly I'm looking forward in this day to hearing from all of you and to finding ways in which we can really find solutions for today's challenges, not only in terms of our relationship, but in terms of the many challenges that face our futures. So Vice Minister Lee, may I ask you to give your remarks first, and then we'll hear from Congressman Beyer. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Congressman Don Beyer, and Ambassador Kathleen Stephens, President of the Korea Economic Institution, and thank you very much for your warm introduction of my career. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. And I would like to welcome all of you to the 2018 Korea-U.S. Public-Private Joint Economic Forum and extend my deep gratitude to all the participants for being with us this morning. I'm very pleased to see this year's forum taking place here in Washington, D.C., following last year's fruitful discussion in Seoul. Not only the venue, but also the juncture of this forum is meaningful. Over the past 1 year, Korea and the United States have worked together to overcome a number of challenges we faced. Our ironclad alliance served as solid basis on which both countries did so wonderfully. On the economic side, most prominent was our common effort to amend the KORUS FTA in a reciprocal manner. When Korea and the United States embarked on the negotiations to amend the FTA at the start of this year, many had concerns about the future of our economic relationship. However, based upon the strong trust built up over the last 65 years, both countries could address each other's concerns in good faith and resolve differences to reach their new agreement. Today, I would like to elaborate on the three distinctive layers of cooperation framework under which Korea and the United States can go together, 같이 갑시다, into the future. The first layer is, of course, the one that we are familiar with, the bilateral economic interactions between Korea and the United States. As I just mentioned, the amended KORUS FTA is now ready for ratification and hopefully will enter into force soon. I understand that perhaps tomorrow, actually, the approval proposal will be tabled at the plenary session of the National Assembly. Hopefully that amendment proposal will pass the National Assembly tomorrow. Then perhaps we will be able to have the amended FTA enter into the force as of the early part of next year, the 1st January, hopefully. Over the past 7 years since the KORUS FTA took effect in 2011, merchandise trade between our two countries increased by 19%, amounting to $119 billion US dollars in 2017. In 2017, the U.S. trade deficit with Korea decreased considerably by 23%. It marked the largest decrease of trade deficit among the U.S. top 10 trading partners. Besides, Korea invested of $80 billion US dollars into the U.S. industries in the same period. For 7 years in a row, the United States has been ranked as Korea's top investment destination. I'm confident that our trade in goods and services, as well as investment, will keep thriving in an even more mutually beneficial manner on the basis of the new FTA. Not only the trade and investment, but also in the areas not exactly covered by the FTA, such as energy, innovation, space, and science and technology, Korea and the United States have been working together for the mutual benefits. the bilateral energy cooperation, particularly in the area of LNG, is worthy of special mentioning. As Korea strives to diversify its sources of LNG, the United States has naturally become its new reliable partner. This year, Korea's imports of LNG from the United States amount to 3.8 million metric tons, tripled from the last year. That makes Korea the largest LNG importer of the United States. Korea's LNG imports from the United States are likely to further increase in the coming years. Further, to increase the trade in LNG between the two countries, more Korean energy companies are making investments in the energy infrastructures in the United States. The governments of both countries are poised to facilitate the bilateral economic cooperation in energy and other sectors by making full use of the existing framework of dialogue in a future-oriented manner. The second layer is regional cooperation involving multiple players. Peace and security in Northeast Asia has always remained an important goal of the U.S. Korea alliance, but we cannot afford to limit our perspective to the Northeast Asia. Korea and the United States can foster significant cooperation in a more systematic manner in a broader region, the Indo-Pacific region. Under the new administration, the Korean government is pursuing the new Southern policy, which aims to build lasting relations with ASEAN countries, India, and other nations in the Indo-Pacific region under the three principles of people, prosperity, and peace, three Ps. The Korean government has proactively set up a financial budget plan to support this policy. Korea will double the size of ASEAN ROK Cooperation Fund from $7 million to $14 million next year, and triple the Mekong ROK Cooperation Fund to $3 million in 2020. Moreover, by 2022, Korea will raise $100 million for the ASEAN-Korean Infrastructure Cooperation Fund, and Korea's official development assistance to the ASEAN region will increase by 2.5 times, amounting to $530 million. I believe that this new Southern policy share many common elements with the Indo-Pacific strategy of the United States. Both initiatives recognize the importance of openness, inclusiveness, respect for rules, and transparency in the pursuit of their policy goals of peace and prosperity through free and open development of the region. The two initiatives will eventually play an important role in filling up the gap in the region's core need for enhanced connectivity, physical, institutional, and human. These similarities of the two initiatives gives us a perfect opportunity to take our cooperation in the region to a new dimension that encompasses the implications in economic terms and in the development field. The cooperation in the region will not only generate fresh momentum for growth for the countries involved, but also allow Korea and the United States to collaborate in areas beyond bilateral issues, jointly addressing regional concerns and contributing to the prosperous future of the Indo-Pacific region. It is my hope that today's forum could explore various ideas about specific areas for possible cooperation between the two countries. The third layer is a global cooperation. Over the recent years, we have broadened and deepened the area of cooperation under our alliance to address global economic issues and concerns based upon the values that both of us share, such as freedom, market economy, democracy, and the rule of law. We have been cooperating in the areas of development cooperation, the multilateral trading system, anti-corruption, women's economic empowerment, global health security, cybersecurity, fourth industrial revolution, to name a few. As a matter of fact, our alliance has become a truly global partnership. Given the topic of today's forum, allow me to focus a little bit on digital economy, which is one of the issues that require a future-oriented cooperation approach. Digital economy brings about fundamental changes in the way businesses and governments operate across all sectors of economies. Digital economy creates entirely new markets, businesses, and even lifestyles, making world economies more and more intertwined. This year's APEC Economic Leaders Meeting reaffirmed this. This interactive and transborder nature of digital space brings many difficult issues such as network security, harmonization of regulations, and rights of data subjects. At the same time, though, it carries abundant potential for increasing productivity and enabling inclusive growth, generating a greater number of new opportunities for various players around the world. I believe the scope of the Korea-U.S. partnership could expand to this area, harnessing the potential of digital economy, as we both are clear front runners in this field. Korea has, as you know, has a well-established ICT infrastructure and a high internet penetration rate, which makes it a highly favored test bed of new technologies and digital services. The United States is also home to many leading companies in the sector, such as Google and Amazon, by virtue of its fertile industrial ecosystem that has nurtured numerous core technologies in emerging fields such as big data and the Internet of Things. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now facing new waves of economic transformation. New players, new regions, and new technologies are emerging. However, fortunately enough, we are not thrown into these waves alone. As we strengthen our ties in the three layers I spoke about, and together confront the challenges in this world, the United States and Korea can sail on side by side. The United States and Korea can jointly take the lead in the global paradigm shift towards a new economy. The United States and Korea can bring their relationship to the next level. The United States and Korea can find ways to achieve common prosperity. There is a saying that goes, the past cannot be changed, the future is yet in your powers. Building upon our shared past and present, we should now explore further ways to deepen our partnership. Before I conclude, please allow me to offer my sincere gratitude to the Korea Economic Institute for their hard work and cooperation with the Korean Embassy in making the arrangement for today's forum. My special thanks also go to all my friends in the State Department for supporting us in every way to make this forum as fruitful as possible. I look forward to a successful forum today. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Joanna Chim, and good morning. Kamsahamnida, Ambassador Stevens, for the kind introduction and for the invitation to join the forum this morning. And Councilor Lee, thank you very much, Vice Minister, for this very thoughtful, very compelling, and very encouraging remarks about this instrumental economic relationship between our two countries. It's been going on for so many years. I doubt I need to underline for this crowd how important this long-standing and fruitful relationship has been, and I'm just thrilled to be here. And that's not just because Don Beyer Kia in Falls Church that's our family business. I called my sister, our CFO, yesterday, said, how many Kias have we sold? Said, since 2008, 7,566 new Kias. and more than 3,000 used Kias. So for a decade now, we've been selling Americans living in Northern Virginia and many members of the Korean embassy here vehicles designed in Haewon, Korea and Irvine, California and manufactured in Gwangju or West Point, Georgia. Our experience is hardly unique, though, because thousands of Virginia jobs are supported by hundreds of millions of dollars of exports to Korea. And there are over 1,000 Korean students studying at Virginia universities, including students from George Mason's Incheon campus. Of course, we want to see this partnership grow. And I believe that this is best achieved by further cooperation, not tariffs, not threats, not recriminations. I'm a free trade Democrat, and I believe to the core of my economic understanding that the exchange of goods and services and intellectual property and financial capital, and especially human capital, is what has allowed mankind to grow and flourish. By almost every measurement, the human race is far better off than it was 100 years ago or 50 years ago. Lifespan, health, poverty, hunger, violence, disease, democracy. And all this progress has been built on healthy trading relationships between countries. We have deep personal ties as well. My father, as a recent West Point graduate, served in Korea in 1947 and 48, where he contracted malaria and came home. And then I was born in June 1950, the same week that the Korean People's Army crossed the 38th parallel and began the Korean War. My Northern Virginia district has a large and thriving Korean diaspora. Luckily for us, my district office in Springfield, Virginia, is just minutes away from some of the best Korean food east of Seoul, or at least east of Los Angeles. So, those personal ties underscore the value of personal connections, language skills, and cultural expertise to the growing economic relationship with Korea and between U.S. and Korean companies. And so often, successful efforts for U.S. companies to engage in the Korean market are led by Koreans or Korean Americans and vice versa. This is why I was an original co-sponsor of the Partner with Korea Act. And this bill was led by Peter Roskam, a Republican, and Jerry Connolly, a Democrat, my neighbor. We created a temporary visa for Korean professionals who would be critical to the efforts of American companies to take advantage of the opportunities provided by the KORUS FTA. FTA-linked visas were created in connection with agreements with Australia, Chile, Singapore, but all those have much smaller trade volumes than the U.S. does with Korea, and much smaller foreign direct investment of Korea into the United States. Unfortunately, sadly, committee politics has so far prevented a linkage of visas directly to the approval of KORUS. But it's still really important that Congress enact this legislation. It's got lots of bipartisan support, and it accommodates the needs and opportunities created by the FTA. I hate to tell you, it's not going to be passed this year. We only have 6 days left, and it's going to be all about keeping the government open. But I am confident that we will reintroduce it in January, and hopeful that we'll see it pass next year, perhaps as part of a larger immigration bill. And I don't think it's responsible to discuss our Korean-American economic partnership without also discussing the security relationship, which is absolutely fundamental to the ties between our two countries. Our alliance with the Republic of Korea predates most of the meaningful economic interaction between the U.S. and the Korean Peninsula. And of course, the ongoing security relationship has made rising prosperity possible in both places. You know, too often when the challenge presented by North Korea is discussed in the United States, we discuss it clearly just in terms of the U.S. and North Korea. And it seems to me that sometimes Trump and Kim and their predecessors are just lobbying personal threats back and forth across the ocean, like moving missiles and carriers, little rocket man, mentally ranged dotard, I have a nuclear button on my desk, etc. We seem to forget our other essential and existential partner on the peninsula. And this presents the risk of erasing the human cost of any conflict, and any conflict will fall most heavily on the civilians of Korea. And this is another reason why interpersonal connections are so important to the international relationship. In this country, Korean Americans have been the most persistent and effective advocates for a continued U.S. commitment to support the Republic of Korea for the search for détente and ultimately peace. As Americans, we must respect and acknowledge the leadership that President Moon and the Korean government have shown paving the way towards de-escalation. Neither our stakes nor our expertise will ever again be as high. And as a result, it would do our interest no harm for the White House to take its cues from the Blue House as opposed to the reverse. Yet for 70 years, the partnership between the United States and the Republic of Korea has remained strong, and it should grow stronger in both the national and commercial spheres due to the ongoing efforts of all the wonderful organizations in this room, especially KEI. Well, I will keep trying to do my part and keep lots of Souls and Sorrentos and Optimas on the road. And soon I'm really looking forward to the dramatic new 2020 Telluride luxury SUV. You can go on the internet later and look it up. It's wonderful. And I'll continue to do all I can to promote our partnership in the U.S. government. And then go Pagayo? Hawaii thing. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Well, I want to thank the Vice Minister and Congressman Beyer both very much for this, setting us off on just the right tone, I think, of the importance of the relationships and the challenge and the importance of the issues as well. And I'm really up here because now I can confess to Congressman Beyer that actually I had my Kia in Falls Church for servicing last week, so tell your sister it went great. And my other point before Tori gets up here to get the panels up here is I appreciate the use of Korean by both speakers, and Vice Minister Lee referred to 같이 갑시다, which means let's go together, and is often said with reference, especially by our militaries, to our close work together. And you also referred to values. And as a learner of Korean, sometimes we think in odd ways, and actually sometimes the word in Korean, I know it's spelled differently for values, is 같이. So I sort of have a new expression, which is, 같이, 같이 갑시다. Values are very important, and I think that your remarks, Congressman Beyer, especially about your family connection in Korea, we've all been touched by Korea in the past. We're even more intertwined now, and that makes it all more important that we work together. So with that, thanks to both of our keynotes for getting us on such a good start today, and we'll move right into our first panel.